My name is Arin Lindauer, and you're listening to A Life Without Struggle. I'm a wife, a mother of 2 wonderful children, a 2-time best-selling author, and a highly driven and successful entrepreneur. In my 17-plus year career as a mindset and health expert, I know what holds women back from a life you only dream about. Whether you're a CEO, a businesswoman, or executive, I started this podcast because I have been where you are, and I know you want and deserve more out of your life. I believe women are limitless. We just get lost along the way. The process to get you there is the topic and purpose of this podcast. When you understand what you want, you can truly step into a life without struggle. Welcome, and I'm so thankful you're here. Welcome back to another episode of Life Without Struggle. My name is Arin Lindauer, and today we're going to dig into a topic around progressive resistance training and why it is the far superior way for a woman who is 40 plus compared to all the other workouts. So listen, this is probably one of the biggest spaces of confusion outside of nutrition. And so I'll do another podcast on the nutrition side of this, but I really want to come and bring a ton of clarity to what actually works for women who are over 40, 50, 60 years old, and you feel like everything you've been doing has stopped working. You feel like all the diets that you were doing in the past would produce a certain result, or all the workouts you had done produced a certain result, and then all of a sudden it stops. Why? Well, there's a lot that goes into this. So I wanted to unpack this with just several points that you really want to consider, especially if you desire weight loss, you feel like you're doing everything, nothing is working, you feel like your hormones are all messed up, you're worried about injury prevention, you're worried about just aging well. And it's like, man, what works? Because you get all these advertisements, you get all these different, try out Orange Theory, try out, F45. There's Eat the Frog, there's bar, there's Pilates, there's HIIT training, there's all the classes at your local YMCA. I mean, there's no shortage of different latest, greatest, here's what to do. But the problem is most of these people just really like fitness, or it's a franchise, and nobody is actually programming the workouts with what I'm going to explain to you in mind. So the thing that you want to think about is you want to think about how to make your workouts progressive in nature. And you want to make sure that you are staying away from injuries. You're actually providing the proper tension to the muscle fiber. You want to make sure that you're getting stronger. So there's so much that goes into this. And I have literally had people ask me, well, tell me everything I need to know on how to create workouts. And I'm like, whoa, that is like the biggest loaded question you could possibly ask me, because there's so much that goes into it, and it's understanding your actual goal and what it is that you want out of the workouts. So many times we think the workouts are what's going to create the fat loss. And in theory, yes, we are going to burn more calories. We're putting more lean tissue on our body. We're going to raise our metabolism, which all is a good thing. You help balance hormones, your insulin sensitivity, so it's so important to do this, but it's important to understand why to do it one way versus another. So the thing you want to think about is you want to do progressive resistance training. And this is more thinking about your joint health and injury prevention. So many times I would have different clients or just, friends over the years tell me like how bad their knees are and how beat up they are. And, oh, I can't do that jumping. Oh, Arin, every time I do a jumping jack, I pee myself, like there's all these things that we have to consider when we're over 40, we've had some kids, etc. But what we want to think about is we want to progressively increase our load in a very controlled manner. So resistance training, and specifically progressive resistance training, is going to strengthen your muscles. It's going to strengthen the ligaments, the joints, improving stability and reducing injury risk. You don't think about stepping off the curb today, but as you're aging, that actually becomes a very important task that a lot of our aging population are very challenged with. They may fall, break a hip. I mean, there's so much that goes into this. And it was just simply having the balance, stability, and strength to just simply step up or off of the curb, let alone going upstairs in a home, up someone's, front door step. And so when you think about these HIIT workouts or high intensity exercises, such as jumping, sprinting, this puts so much excessive strain on the joints, on the connective tissue. And here's the thing, you may already be sensitive due to how much you've already aged, how much cartilage you have, different hormone changes that you have, and just your natural wear and tear on your joints. For myself personally, it was in my 30s, early 30s, that I absolutely had to stop running. And I was training for my second marathon, and my knee had swelled up so bad that I basically didn't have a knee. And I was like, whoa, this is wild. It actually didn't hurt, but it sent me to an orthopedic surgeon who requested MRIs. And then subsequently, he told me I had knees of an 80-year-old and that I would be back. Well, I know a little bit more about the body, and thankfully, we've mitigated that, but it's something that even I'm not going to do jumping. I'm not going to do burpees. I'm not going to put more strain on my knees, which I already have bone on bone. But the cool thing is what you can do is really strengthen around the joint, so that really, if I want to run maybe once a week, it's absolutely fine. But if I hadn't developed the muscle tissue around the joint, that would not be possible. And back in those days when I was running and training for a marathon, I actually wasn't resistance training like I do today. So it's always interesting how things come full circle based on your goals, based on what you want, and how old you are. So again, joint health and injury prevention is such an important piece of this. The other thing we want to think about is hormonal support. So for women 40 plus, we're going to be experiencing our perimenopause. And then what this does is leads to a drop in estrogen and testosterone. And these changes accelerate muscle loss and decrease bone density. So, okay, why is this important? Well, progressive resistance training is going to help you maintain and build lean muscle mass, which boosts metabolism and combats sarcopenia, which is just age-related muscle loss. And it also stimulates bone remodeling, which is going to reduce your risk of osteoporosis. I mean, this is a big deal for women. And so you don't get this from your HIIT type of workouts that are more focused on cardiovascular fitness. You may be moving some weights around, but if there are those 5, 10, small weights, high repetition, you are not getting the same benefits that you would get from resistance training, changing your rep schemes up, getting, 8 reps, 6 reps, 4 reps versus, 15, 20 plus reps that happens in a lot of those Orange Theories, those bar. You just do rep over and over and over again. And while, yes, some good cardiovascular fitness will come from that, it's not going to provide the same thing when it comes to strength building, bone density benefits that occur from resistance training. Something I always share is we've had clients over the years who were in osteopenia, which is the precursor to osteoporosis. And the thing about this is you only get these scans every 2 years or so is I believe the schedule on this, because it does take time. But what's really, really cool is over the years, we've had women who have worked with us who were in osteopenia and they subsequently got out of it without any drugs, just simply by resistance training, which is fascinating. And it really has to do with the force that is actually created on the bone when you resist resistance train. So there's a whole lot more that goes into that, but it's actually really, really fascinating. The other thing that we want to think about when it comes to some of these workouts that just leave you drenched with sweat on the floor versus a resistance training that I'm not going to say you're not going to sweat, but I don't tend to sweat like I would if I were doing more of a higher intensity. And sometimes we kind of think of that like, oh, is it working? Am I working out hard enough? This is a question that I get asked a lot, but you want to think about more of your sustainability and being able to recover from your workouts. So when you resistance train, this can really be tailored to you. And so we can do gradual increases in load. So this is your progressive overload. Then we can make this so that it is sustainable. It's long term. We're always going to bench press. We're always going to back squat. We're always going to deadlift, but we're going to change it up in different variables, but we'll make it progressive. And this allows us to do this long term. You give good rest between sets. It gives you a chance to recover versus some of these high intensity type workouts. They require a significant amount of energy, a lot of recovery. And women who are over 40 may experience needing more time to recover, and you get overtrained. That's one that I see time and time again. You're overtraining your body. You're fatigued all the time. Your cortisol, stress hormone spikes, and that does not create a good environment for fat loss. And so that's one that I talk about over and over again is you're doing a lot of the right things. It's just absolutely the wrong type of workout. Think about some of these boot camps, some of these Peloton, where again, good cardiovascular benefits, but we need to partner something like the Peloton with good strength training, moving some appropriate weight. The other thing that you want to think about while we're talking about cortisol is women over 40 often experience just a higher baseline of cortisol levels. And this is just due to our stress, our day-to-day. This is due to hormonal changes that are occurring. And so when you progressively resistance train, you're going to promote muscle growth and metabolism without excessively spiking the cortisol. Then you partner that with adequate rest, and you've got just a really good recipe for, what your exercise needed to look like in respect to increasing cortisol. So, increasing cortisol is not necessarily a bad thing, but in appropriate ways and appropriate levels. So again, when you think about these high intensity type of workouts, you're only going to do sharp increases in the cortisol, and that actually can lead to your muscle breaks down. You actually gain weight, especially around our midsection, which nobody loves. And then on top of that, you can experience really crummy sleep because again, you're overtraining, you're fatigued, and it's like that wired but tired feeling. And this is where less is more all day long. But for some of us, we have gone all our life. We have kicked our own, what, all our life. And we like it, right? Like we like a good sweat. We like getting after it, but that does not serve us over 40, and especially if we desire fat loss. So some other things that you really want to consider too is just your overall metabolism and your body composition. And so when you resistance train, this is going to build lean tissue, which what this does is this is going to increase your resting metabolic rate, and it's going to improve insulin sensitivity. So what that does is that helps you maintain a healthy weight. It also is going to help too in losing actual fat tissue. The more lean tissue we have on our body, within reason, we will increase our metabolism. So the rate in which we burn things. So it gives you a little more play when it comes to food and things like that. But when you do a HIIT workout, you're going to burn calories. Absolutely. You're going to burn them quickly, but it doesn't have the same long-term impact on muscle building and metabolism. So where your Apple Watch or your Fitbit or your Garmin watch may tell you, you burned a cajillion calories in that workout, and then in resistance training, it may say, well, you only burned 167 or 211. Those are the two ranges that my personal workouts burn. But the thing that you got to remember is you are going to burn longer over the entire day because of doing the resistance training versus the cardio or HIIT type of workout is like right now, this is what you burned, and then that's it. So resistance training is going to keep your metabolism revving at a much higher rate the rest of the day. So the thing you want to think about is progressively resistance training is the proper way for women 40 plus. Don't get sucked into the Pilates, the bar, the Orange Theory, the F45, the Eat the Frog, the Solid Core, I could go on. There are so many places now, and you need to actually lift real weights. You need to lift, you're going to start small. And that's the best thing about this is resistance training can be scaled with lighter weights, body weight exercises, resistance bands, and we can make it from a beginner on up into an advanced. I've had people, say, and I just think this is an interesting comment to begin with, "Oh, Arin, I'm never going to lift like you do." Well, that's fine, but you need to lift in some capacity using dumbbells. And I'm going to challenge, most women are stronger than they ever realized, but we do got to get there. We can't just go deadlifting 135 pounds if you've never deadlifted in your life. We need to start you appropriately, but it is a good thing. And every woman that tells me that they want, the toning, the sculpting to their body, they want to see the definition when they wear, the sleeveless shirts or tank tops, those kinds of things, that takes resistance training. Yes, we got to shed the fat, but 100% you have to have the muscle. So you want to think about this, that progressive resistance training is way safer, it's more effective, and it's just sustainable. It's something that women over 40 can do because we're going to increase and improve our muscle mass, our bone density, our metabolism is going to get better while minimizing the injury risk and overall just managing your hormones. So, again, not to say don't ever get on the Peloton, don't ever go for a run, but I'm here to tell you, if you desire weight loss and you're just beating the snot out of yourself, there's a reason why you're not seeing results. So let me know what questions stem from this. This is always a hot topic for most women. And if you have more questions, you can hit me up on any social media. It's just Arin Lindauer, spelled Arin, Arin. Lindauer is Lindauer. All right, we'll see you later.